Man City go to Chelsea on Sunday afternoon, at which stage they could be 12 points behind Arsenal in the Premier League title race, or playing to go within 6 points of the Gunners. This is Tactics Exposed Team Talk, and as always, we'll be answering tactical questions from you guys around the big game. Dino, let's get straight into it with question number 1. Can Manchester City exploit space like they did against Liverpool? Now, Dino, the Tactics Exposed audience are getting more and more engaged and more cerebral, aren't they? What a question.
They're talking my language now. It's fantastic. Exactly. Yeah, so thanks for all the questions. The Prem's back. I'm delighted.
And so are we.
Yeah, after a couple of weeks of, trying to entertain yourself with England and FA Cup. This comes from an FA Cup position, because this is somebody who's obviously watched that City-Liverpool game in the FA Cup. And he's probably either a City fan wanting them to do it again, or a Chelsea fan a little bit frightened of what they saw.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, and I've been looking forward to something like this with City. I've noticed this for a few weeks, and look, we're turning the nerd dial up a little bit here, right? But this is happening across Europe, because lots of teams now are going into a low block, right? Yep. We know that, and the big teams are struggling to break down those low blocks that they're facing week after week. But what this is from City is opening up a low block with like a fake press. All right?
Go.
So here we go. Right?
Scoggins is back.
So if the ball is over in this area here, right? Maybe you've got a left back with it when they've been playing out. You're going to naturally end up in a shape something like that as a defensive team, okay? Because you're looking to play out.
So that just quickly, that's Chelsea with the ball.
Yes, and this is what happened with Liverpool in that FA Cup game against City. So again, you're going to end up with a centre forward there, a winger pressing there, and then we get players into somewhat like that position, okay? So somewhere in there. So look how congested it is. Look how tight it is. And again, teams defending in almost a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-2 block shape against Manchester City. So this is what they do. When they win the ball back here now, they don't play it forward straight away. And you'd think, well, that's daft. That's a weird thing to happen, because you want to get the ball to Semenya or Marmoush or Cherki in those areas as quickly as possible. Get it into Haaland for people to play off. But if you play the ball in here, you're in danger of being cut out, and the space is just not there for people to go. So the instruction from Pep, I'm convinced, right, absolutely convinced, is we go back to go forwards, right? So what happens then? The ball gets played back into here. Let's say this is Rodri, right? Yeah. So what happens?
Just quickly, they've won the ball back.
They've won the ball back high up, and let's say Semenya's got the ball here, and he's playing the ball backwards in here to Rodri or one of the centre backs. What happens to Chelsea?
Well, they'll come out.
They'll come out.
Yeah.
Immediately, they'll come out like that. Then what happens? Ball goes straight back in.
Yep.
So it's a go back to open up that box shape in the middle, open up that press to go forwards. And they did it 3 or 4 times against Liverpool. And then you've got that little genius, Bernardo Silva, who is the only player who is not running in that direction, and he just drifts in there. And then he can take the ball on the half term and go. They did it from throw-ins. They did it from balls where they had the ball in this area here. And if Chelsea aren't careful, because Chelsea like to go after the ball, they're at home, right, as well. João Pedro will chase it, Estêvão will chase it, Neto will chase it. Palmer has got a job to do in sitting in between, but they could end up leaving one midfielder against 2 attackers from City if they're not disciplined. So don't go, lads, is the construction.
Can I just ask a question, Dino? This feels like, which happens on Tactics Exposed every now and then, right? We'll be talking about a tactical principle, which actually often sounds, I don't mean this in a disparaging way, the sort of stuff that we would have learned at under-7s, under-8s football, right? Quite basic football principles. This, again, feels like maybe not under-7s, but playing it back, you're effectively just drawing players out, right? And that's why you're encouraged not always to just pump it forward, to pass the ball around, to move opponents around. Is it that sort of genius or remarkable from Pep?
But it's in positions where you'd expect them to go forwards.
Okay.
So that's where, but remember, if you're defending in a low block and then you're successful in defending in a low block and you're playing against Manchester City, you've got to get out. You want to get out. So actually it's goading a team in to play back counterintuitively against what they want to do.
So for seniors watching this then, Dino, what's the answer? What's the sort of antidote to what you're suggesting suggesting
Yeah,
Pep will do?
it goes sideways and not forwards. And again, that's a difficult thing for a midfield or a team that likes to press to get through their heads. But again, if they're in that position there, don't go like that as a group.
Right.
Come back that way into your shape. Okay. So if that could be a left central midfield player, let's say it's Santos, possibly Caicedo being dragged over there. You've got your number 10 in maybe Palmer being dragged back in next to Caicedo or Santos, and then you've got Estêvão in a position like that. If you go like that, you're going to get caught in here. You're going to get caught, okay? So don't go forwards there. Come sideways to get back into your shape like that, and then you've got your 4-2 and then 3-1 or 4-4-2 shape to counter.
So Chelsea, as you say, are a pressing team. You're not suggesting that they scrap that entirely. You're just suggesting they need a bit more discipline. So sideways, then forwards?
Absolutely. And if they've watched what City have done in the last few weeks, City did it in the cup final against Arsenal as well, but it was a different sort of shape against Arsenal. But against Liverpool, they did it. They did it previously in the European game, second leg against Real Madrid, which is when I first noticed it. And then I keep seeing this happening. And it's a strange thing, as you say. You would say, oh yeah, lots of teams do that, pass it to open up space. But normally we'd associate City with passing it round just to retain possession. Right. But actually they're playing quite risky balls with that next ball back. So if it goes back into Husanov, Rodri, or in this position, Guehi, they're not dwelling on the ball and they're trying to fire it in between the lines straight away. So there is an opportunity there for Chelsea. Caicedo's a genius at intercepting the ball. So if they do see it and they shuffle back into their two-man shape there, you can actually intercept that pass, and then you've got a danger man or danger men going in the opposite direction. But if you get sucked in by City into that sort of anti-press mode, then you're going to get opened up in behind. Yeah,
it's quite interesting how many teams now are sort of resorting to somewhat more direct football, particularly Chelsea, one of the first to do it, right? Colwill into Jackson, that ball straight from the back right up to the top man. Let's go to question number 2 then, Dino. How can Chelsea counter Manchester City's new non-press tactic? Now, is that similar to what we've spoken about there? I think, first of all, you'll know better than me. You need to describe what the non-press tactic is before we tell whether Chelsea can counter.
Yeah, well, again, thanks for the question, because this has come straight out of the cup final review show. So let's just show what that non-press tactic was, right? So this was what happened against Arsenal. They did it in the first half against Liverpool as well, but they then sort of altered that slightly. So we've just got them in a normal shape there. City then in a 4-2-4 shape. But you might think, wow, that's an aggressive press. That's an aggressive press shape. But the question is correct. It's not a press. It's a non-press. So what they're actually doing is sitting there. They're not going. They're not saying, and even then, when Arsenal couldn't get out in that cup final, and then Liverpool pushed their fullbacks on into that position there, you'd think, well, hang on a minute. You're overloaded there completely, but City aren't pressing. They're just sitting there, okay? And Liverpool sort of looked at it early on and were a bit like, I don't really get this.
What are we doing?
What are we doing here? And then Gravenberch worked it out, which Arsenal didn't do in the cup final. So how do you counter it? And it's a single pivot with the 6, okay? So lots of teams now playing with a double pivot, and that is why this from Pep is being successful, because you're blocking the passing lanes to those two players. If they go in there, that's too risky. If you go in there, that's too risky. You're going to get into trouble, okay?
You're effectively forcing teams to play the ball, longer balls out wide.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So get your fullbacks, first of all, on the same line as the press, right? That I'll come back to that in a second. That's quite important. The non-press, right? The pressing line, let's call it. And then centre-backs split, same line as the goalkeeper, okay? And then that means immediately you've got that pass on, so that can be there, okay? So we'll do that both sides because you've got that pass on. They'll try and stay on that line. But if you've gone with a double, this guy here is outnumbered. They will pick up, and he's outnumbered, right? So you can't go with a double. You go with a single, and you push those players there like that. So let's say that's Caicedo. We'll say that that's Andre Santos, and this is Cole Palmer for Chelsea. Straight away, you've opened there and you've opened there, and you've given City a problem here where if it goes this way, you're overloaded, okay? And we know João Pedro will be involved in that as well.
But if in that instance, it makes total sense there, but don't the two City centre midfielders just go with those Chelsea midfielders?
But if that's a great question, because if they do that, okay, and then you get it to here, what's he going to do?
Press, and then the full-backs wide.
Bounce pass, and you're gone. So that's exactly the scenario they should be debating in the team room of how to play out from that. But as soon as... So Liverpool did that with Gravenberch, McAllister moved on, and then Wirtz was being very flexible there. So it's about these players here. These two are the key, and only having one there. Because the other thing you can do in that scenario is, if the goalkeeper's capable of it, which most of them are, is go direct into there.
That's no good if that's João Pedro, though, is it?
It could, probably not the best of his game, but what you're looking to do, okay, is if you go long into there, is get one of the wide players, which could be Neto, could be Estêvão, to go and join the striker. And then you've got a 3v2 here, which means you've got a 4v3 in there. Yeah. So it's a numbers game, and it's how you counter that four-man non-press tactic to do it. And because Liverpool did it so well, what happened to City in the second half was that it was actually they left Aït-Nouri back with Salah, because he pinned him back. And then that meant, OK, straight away we're playing a numbers game. And then it was actually Semenyo was having to track Kirkez, because he pushed on this side, and then it was Nico O'Reilly having to come out from a midfield position to here, because he played in midfield that day, not at left back. And then as soon as he came over here, he's not there already. So because he's moving, you've got that pass on. If he goes too close, you've got that pass on and that pass on. So trying to disrupt that numbers game. But again, what Arsenal didn't do in the cup final was be brave. They wouldn't play those passes through the lines, and they wouldn't go direct into this. Because if you go direct into this and the centre-half wins the header, you've got a 4v2 in here.
Of course.
So, you've got to be brave. So that's what I would do if I was Rosenior in that.
Yeah, nice one, Dino. Let's move on to question number 3 then. Oh, there we go. Midfield related, Dino. With Enzo suspended, will Estêvão start? Chelsea obviously suspended Enzo for 2 games after that interview he gave, seeming to suggest he might like to go and play for Real Madrid.
Who wouldn't though, right?
Well, Lots of people will think, though, Enzo for Estêvão, that's not a straight swap.
No, but the balance of it is actually quite good, especially for a home game. So Palmer's been playing sort of nominally off the right and drifting into his number 10 position with Neto off one side, because under Liam Rosenior, Enzo Fernandez has been playing as the sort of flexible 10, playing in a number 10 position on paper, but being the one a la Bernardo Silva for City as the tactical genius, or a la Wirtz of Liverpool to move into those spaces to play out. But so with this, I'd like to think it's Estêvão. I mean, look, we can be neutral and say we'd love to watch Estêvão play every week, right?
Does that work then, Dino? If it was to be that, does that work with the single pivot system you were just discussing?
In fact, I think, I would like to see Fernandez, and it's very attacking, play with Caicedo in that way of playing out. Look, Santos has played very well for Chelsea, but I would like to see that and Estêvão, but then that's maybe the Tottenham fan gung-ho in me coming out there a little bit. But what I think they'll do is they'll the back four sort of picks itself, but if you've got Caicedo and Santos in there as the 2, and then you have Cole Palmer as the 10, that means you've got Neto one side, Estêvão the other, and João Pedro up front. And then that means that they've got a sort of system where Palmer can be flexible in those positions there. And when they're playing out, they've also got the option of Palmer going up as a 2 and having that 4-2-4 attacking shape. Or if Palmer drifts, as he does, to come and get the ball into these areas here, out wide, where he likes to have the ball into feet and turn and go, then Estêvão can go in there. And what sort of, I know Liam Rosenior, it's been up and down, right? It's been quite revolutionary what he's tried. A lot of the players, including Enzo, has come out and talked about Enzo Maresca, and they all seem to be pining for the manager who's left, which is not a good sign. But what he has done really well, Rosenior, is in attack got them playing in pairs. And it's really benefited João Pedro, because where João Pedro before, under Maresca, a lot was receiving the ball in this area of the field, and he's getting loads and loads of touches in the centre circle, which is great if you're a winger going past him, because you're thinking, oh, well, I'll get in on goal. But he wasn't scoring any goals or creating any assists. And under Rosenior's brought him to life, and that's because he's pairing players with him. So he's either telling Neto as the wide player on the left, when we build up, you go and literally stand with him, because then you're getting defenders into that area, which means you can have little 1-2s and go in and behind. But also, I like the idea of Estêvão with him over in this area of the field, because if Cole Palmer then is here and going into that position, boy, you've got a problem then. Because if Palmer's going at goal that way and João Pedro's holding the line, and you're going to have to retreat this line back because Estêvão's running with the ball, then with that more direct approach, can you win the second ball and then give it in open play? Because we know City are not going to pack the midfield. They're going to, a lot of the time, it will be Rodri and Bernardo.
Yep.
Some of the time, Bernardo will be up there and it'll be Rodri by himself.
Yep.
So that's, for me, the way to go. And look, it's a home game. They need to get a result. They need to get the crowd a bit excited and on side again. So for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer, especially the way he played against Port Vale.
Absolutely, mate. Brilliant stuff, Dino. Thanks very much for watching Tactics Exposed Team Talk. Thanks for all your questions. Make sure you get them in as usual in the comments. Like the channel, subscribe, and we'll see you on Monday for Tactics Exposed.